Okay?
We're live.
Welcome back to Radha Lane, where we just restarted our live broadcast on another feed because somehow or other the first one didn't work properly for everyone. It was working in Holland, but it wasn't working right here in Houston where we're sitting. So therefore we reset it. So welcome again. Now you have to look at, now we've got two live feeds for today. One is from the first chapter, starting from the 37th verse, and now here we go with the second chapter, first verse. Hare Krishna.
Good.
Now we're going to hear the beginning of the instructions of Krishna to Arjuna. Chapter 2. Contents of the Gita summarized. Arjuna submits to Lord Krishna as his disciple, and Krishna begins his teachings to Arjuna by explaining the fundamental distinction between the temporary material body and the eternal spiritual soul. The Lord explains the process of transmigration, the nature of selfless service to the Supreme, and the characteristics of a self-realized person. Text 1. Sanjaya uvacha tam tata kripaya vishtam ashrupurna kulekshanam vishidantamidam vakyam uvacha madhusudanaha. Sanjaya said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, Madhusudana, Krishna, spoke the following words. Purport. Material compassion, lamentation, and tears are all signs of ignorance of the real self. Compassion for the eternal soul is self-realization. The word Madhusudana is significant in this verse. Lord Krishna killed the demon Madhu, and now Arjuna wanted Krishna to kill the demon of misunderstanding that had overtaken him in the discharge of his duty. No one knows where compassion should be applied. Compassion for the dress of a drowning man is senseless. A man fallen in the ocean of nations cannot be saved simply by rescuing his outward dress, the gross material body. One who does not know this and laments for the outward dress is called a Shudra, or one who laments unnecessarily. Arjuna was a Kshatriya, and this conduct was not expected from him. Lord Krishna, however, can dissipate the lamentation of the ignorant man, and for this purpose the Bhagavad-gita was sung by him. This chapter instructs us in self-realization by an analytical study of the material body and the spirit soul, as explained by the Supreme Authority, Lord Sri Krishna. This realization is possible when one works without attachment to fruitive results and is situated in the fixed conception of the real self. Text 2. Shri Bhagavan uvacha kutastva kash malamidam vishame samupashtitam anarya jushtam asvargyam akirti karamarjana. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the value of life. They lead not to higher planets, but to infamy. Purport. Krishna and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are identical. Therefore, Lord Krishna is referred to as Bhagavan throughout the Gita. Bhagavan is the ultimate in the absolute truth. Absolute truth is realized in three phases of understanding, namely Brahman, or the impersonal, all-pervasive spirit, Paramatma, or the localized aspect of the Supreme within the heart of all living entities, and Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Krsna. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 1-11, this conception of the Absolute Truth is explained thus: Vadanti tat tatva vidas tat mamyaj jnanam advayam brahmiti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdyate. The Absolute Truth is realized in 3 phases of understanding by the knower of the Absolute Truth, and all of them are identical. Such phases of the Absolute Truth are expressed as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. These 3 divine aspects can be explained by the example of the sun, which also has 3 different aspects, namely the sunshine, the sun's surface, and the sun planet itself. One who studies the sunshine only is the preliminary student. One who understands the sun's surface is further advanced, and one who can enter into the sun planet is the highest. Ordinary students who are satisfied by simply understanding the sunshine, its universal pervasiveness, and the glaring effulgence of its impersonal nature, may be compared to those who can realize only the Brahman feature of the Absolute Truth. The student who is advanced still further can know the sun disk, which is compared to knowledge of the Paramatma feature of the Absolute Truth. And the student who can enter into the heart of the sun, and the student who can enter into the heart of the sun planet is compared to those who realize the personal features of the Supreme Absolute Truth. Therefore, the Bhaktas, or the Transcendentalists, who have realized the Bhagavan feature of the Absolute Truth, are the topmost Transcendentalists, although all students who are engaged in the study of the Absolute Truth are engaged in the same subject matter. The sunshine, the sun disk, and the inner affairs of the sun planet cannot be separated from one another, and yet the students of the 3 different phases are not in the same category. The Sanskrit word Bhagavan is explained by the great authority Parashara Muni, the father of Vyasadeva, the Supreme Personality who possesses all riches, all strength, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation is called Bhagavan. There are many persons who are very rich, very powerful, very beautiful, very famous, very learned, and very much detached, but no one can claim that he possesses all riches, all strength, etc. entirely. Only Krishna can claim this, because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No living entity, including Brahma, Lord Shiva, or Narayana, can possess opulences as fully as Krishna. Therefore it is concluded in the Brahma Samhita by Lord Brahma himself that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one is equal to or above him. He is the primeval Lord, or Bhagavan, known as Govinda, and he is the supreme cause of all causes. Ishwarak Paramak Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. There are many personalities possessing the qualities of Bhagavan, but Krishna is the supreme because none can excel him. He is the Supreme Person, and his body is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. He is the primeval Lord Govinda and the cause of all causes. In the Bhagavatam also, there is a list of many incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but Krishna is described as the original Personality of Godhead, from whom many, many incarnations and personalities of Godhead expand. Eti chang shakalak pungsak Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mridiyanti Yuge Yuge. All the lists of the incarnations of Godhead submitted herewith are either plenary expansions or parts of the plenary expansions of the Supreme Godhead. But Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Bhagavatam 1.3.28. Therefore, Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, the source of both the Supersoul and the impersonal Brahman. In the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna's lamentation for his kinsman is certainly unbecoming, and therefore Krishna expressed his surprise with the word kutaha, wherefrom. Such impurities were never expected from a person belonging to the civilized class of men known as Aryans. The word Aryan is applicable to persons who know the value of life and have a civilization based on spiritual realization. Persons who are led by the material conception of life do not know that the aim of life is realization of the absolute truth, Vishnu or Bhagavan, and they are captivated by the external features of the material world, and therefore they do not know what liberation is. Persons who have no knowledge of liberation from material bondage are called non-Aryans. Although Arjuna was a Kshatriya, he was deviating from his prescribed duties by declining to fight. This act of cowardice is described as befitting the non-Aryans. Such deviation from duty does not help one in the progress of spiritual life, nor does it even give one the opportunity to become famous in this world. Lord Krsna did not approve of the so-called compassion of Arjuna for his kinsmen. Text 3. Klaibhyam ma smagama parta naitattvai upapadyate chudram ridhaya dorbalyam chaktutishta parantapa. O son of Pritha, do not yield to this degrading impotence. It does not become you. Give up such petty weakness of heart and arise, O chastiser of the enemy. Purport. Arjuna was addressed as the son of Pritha, who happened to be the sister of Krishna's father, Vasudeva. Therefore Arjuna had a blood relationship with Krishna. If the son of a Kshatriya declines to fight, he is a Kshatriya in name only. And if the son of a Brahmana acts impiously, he is a Brahmana in name only. Such Kshatriyas and Brahmanas are unworthy sons of their fathers. Therefore, Krishna did not want Arjuna to become an unworthy son of a Kshatriya. Arjuna was the most intimate friend of Krishna, and Krishna was directly guiding him on the chariot. But in spite of all these credits, if Arjuna abandoned the battle, he would be committing an infamous act. Therefore Krishna said that such an attitude in Arjuna did not fit his personality. Arjuna might argue that he would give up the battle on the grounds of his magnanimous attitude for the most respectable Bhishma and his relatives, but Krishna considered that sort of magnanimity mere weakness of heart. Such false magnanimity was not approved by any authority. Therefore, such magnanimity or so-called non-violence should be given up by persons like Arjuna under the direct guidance of Krishna. Text 4. Arjuna uvacha katam bhishmamaham sankhye dronam cha madhusudana ishubi pratiyotsyami pujarho arisudana. Arjuna said, O killer of enemies, O killer of Madhu, how can I counteract with arrows in battle men like Bhishma and Drona who are worthy of my worship? Purport. Respectable superiors like Bhishma the grandfather and Dronacharya the teacher are always worshipable. Even if they attack, they should not be counterattacked. It is general etiquette that superiors are not to be offered even a verbal fight. Even if they are sometimes harsh in behavior, they should not be harshly treated. Then, how is it possible for Arjuna to counterattack them? Would Krishna ever attack his own grandfather, Ugrasena, or his teacher, Sandipani Muni? These were some of the arguments offered by Arjuna to Krishna. Pretty powerful arguments, eh?
Yeah.
Text 5. Gurun ahatva himahanubhavan shreyo bhoktum vaikshamapit haloke Hatvartakamangs Tugurumi Haiva Bunji Yabogan Rudida Pradigdan. It would be better to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of the lives of great souls who are my teachers. Even though desiring worldly gain, they are superiors. If they are killed, everything we enjoy will be tainted with blood. Purport. According to scriptural codes, a teacher who engages in an abominable action and has lost his sense of discrimination is fit to be abandoned. Bhishma and Drona were obliged to take the side of Duryodhana because of his financial assistance, although they should not have accepted such a position based on financial considerations. Under the circumstances, they have lost the respectability of teachers. But Arjuna thinks that nevertheless they remain his superiors, and therefore to enjoy material profits after killing them would mean to enjoy spoils tainted with blood. Text 6. Nachaitad vidma katadanno gadiyo yadva yajema yadiva no yajeyuhu yaneva hatva najiji vishamas tevastitak pramukhe dartarastraha. Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. If we killed the sons of Dhritarashtra, we should not care to live. Yet they are now standing before us on the battlefield. Purport. Arjuna did not know whether he should fight and risk unnecessary violence, although fighting is a duty of the Kshatriyas, or whether he should refrain and live by begging. If he did not conquer the enemy, begging would be his only means of subsistence. Nor was there certainty of victory, because either side might emerge victorious. Even if victory awaited them and their cause was justified, still, if the sons of Dhritarashtra died in battle, it would be very difficult to live in their absence. Under the circumstances, that would be another kind of defeat for them. All these considerations by Arjuna definitely proved that not only was he a great devotee of the Lord, but he was also highly enlightened and had complete control over his mind and senses. His desire to live by begging, although he was born in the royal household, is another sign of detachment. He was truly virtuous, as all these qualities, combined with his faith in the words of instruction of Sri Krishna, his spiritual master, indicate. It is concluded that Arjuna was quite fit for liberation. Unless the senses are controlled, there is no chance of elevation to the platform of knowledge. And without knowledge and devotion, there is no chance of liberation. Arjuna was competent in all these attributes, over and above his enormous attributes in his material relationships. Text 7. Karpanya dosho pahata swabhava prichchami tvam dharma samudachetaha yachyaksyan nishchitan bruhitan me shishyaste shadimam tvam prapanam. Translation. Now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Purport. By nature's own way, the complete system of material activities is a source of perplexity for everyone. Shall we have a raise of hands? In every step there is perplexity, and therefore it behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master who can give one proper guidance for executing the purpose of life. All Vedic literatures advise us to approach a bona fide spiritual master to get free from the perplexities of life which happen without our desire. They are like a forest fire that somehow blazes without being set by anyone. Similarly, the world situation is such that perplexities of life automatically appear without our wanting such confusion. No one wants fire, and yet it takes place, and we become perplexed. The Vedic wisdom, therefore, advises that in order to solve the perplexities of life and to understand the science of the solution, one must approach a spiritual master who is in the disciplic succession. A person with a bona fide spiritual master is supposed to know everything. One should not, therefore, remain in material perplexities, but should approach a spiritual master. This is the purport of this verse. Who is the man in material perplexities? It is he who does not understand the problems of life. In the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad 3.8.10, the perplexed man is described as follows: Yova etad akshadam garg abhidit vasmal lokat praiti sakripana. He is a miserly man who does not solve the problems of life as a human, and who thus quits this world like the cats and dogs, without understanding the science of self-realization. This human form of life is a most valuable asset for the living entity who can utilize it for solving the problems of life. Therefore, one who does not utilize this opportunity properly is a miser. On the other hand, there is the Brahmana, or he who is intelligent enough to utilize this body to solve all the problems of life. Ya etad aksharam gargi vidit vasmal lokat praiti sabrahmanaha. The Kripanas, or miserly persons, waste their time in being overly affectionate for family, society, country, etc., in the material conception of life. One is often attached to family life, namely to wife, children, and other members, on the basis of skin disease. The Kripana thinks that he is able to protect his family members from death, or the Kripana thinks that his family or society can save him from the verge of death. Such family attachment can be found even in the lower animals who take care of children, also. Being intelligent, Arjuna could understand that his affection for family members and his wish to protect them from death were the causes of his perplexities. Although he could understand that his duty to fight was awaiting him, still, on account of miserly weakness, he could not discharge the duties. He is therefore asking Lord Krsna, the Supreme Spiritual Master, to make a definite solution. He offers himself to Krishna as a disciple. He wants to stop friendly talks. Talks between the master and the disciple are serious, and now Arjuna wants to talk very seriously before the recognized spiritual master. Krishna is therefore the original spiritual master of the science of Bhagavad-gita, and Arjuna is the first disciple for understanding the Gita. How Arjuna understands the Bhagavad-gita is stated in the Gita itself, and yet foolish mundane scholars explain that one need not submit to Krishna as a person, but to the, quote, the unborn within Krishna, end quote. There is no difference between Krishna's within and without, and one who has no sense of this understanding is the greatest fool in trying to understand Bhagavad-gita. Text 8. Nahi prapashyami mamad panudyad yachchokam uchchochanamindriyanam avapyabhu mau asapatnaminam rajam suranam apichari patyam. I can fight. I will not be able to dispel it, even if I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on earth with sovereignty like that of the demigods in heaven. Purport. Although Arjuna was putting forward so many arguments based on knowledge of the principles of religion, and moral codes, it appears that he was unable to solve his real problem without the help of the spiritual master, Lord Sri Krishna. He could understand that his so-called knowledge was useless in driving away his problems, which were drying up his whole existence, and it was impossible for him to solve such perplexities without the help of a spiritual master like Krishna, like Lord Krishna. High position, etc., are all useless in solving the problems of life. Help can be given only by a spiritual master like Krishna. Therefore, the conclusion is that a spiritual master who is 100% Krishna conscious is the bona fide spirit of life. Lord Chaitanya said that one who is master in the science of Krishna consciousness, regardless of his social position, is the real spiritual master. Kiba Vipra, Kiba Nyasi, Shudra Keninoi, Ye Krishna Tattva Veda, Se Guru Hoy. It does not matter whether a person is a Vipra, learned scholar, in a lower family, or is a perfect and bona fide spiritual master. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 8, 128. So without being a master in the science of Krishna consciousness, no one is a bona fide spiritual master. It is also said in Vedic literature, Shat Karma Nipuno Vipro Mantra Tantra Visharadaha Avaishnavo Guru Nasyad Vaishnavak Shapacho Guruhu. Knowledge is unfit to become a spiritual master without being a Vaishnava or expert in the science of Krishna consciousness. But he is a Vaishnava or Krishna conscious. Padma Purana. The problems of material existence, birth, old age, disease, by accumulation of wealth. In many parts of the world, there are states which are replete with all facilities of life, which are full of wealth and economically developed. Yet the problems of material existence are still present. They are seeking peace in different ways, but they can achieve real happiness only if they consult Krishna or the Bhagavad-gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which constitute the science of Krishna through the bona fide representative of Krishna, the man in Krishna consciousness. If economic development and material comforts could drive away one's lamentations for family, social, national, or international inebrieties, then Arjuna would not have said that even an unrivaled kingdom on earth or supremacy like that of the demigods in the heavenly planets would be unable to drive away his lamentations. He saw consciousness, and that is the right path for peace and harmony. Economic development or supremacy over the world can be finished at any moment by the cataclysms of material nature. Even elevation into a higher planetary situation, as men are now seeking on the moon planet, can also be finished at one stroke. The Bhagavad-gita confirms this. Chine, punye, marjalo, kam bishanti. When the results of pious activities are finished, one falls down again from the peak of happiness to the lowest status of life. Many politicians of the world have fallen down in that way. Such downfalls only constitute more causes for lamentation. Therefore, if we want to curb lamentation for good, then we have to take shelter of Krishna, as Arjuna is seeking to do. So Arjuna asked Krishna to solve his problem definitely, and that is the way of Krishna consciousness. Text 9. Sanjaya Uvacha Evam Uktva Rishikishantapaha Nayotsya iti Govindam Uktva Tush. Having spoken thus, Arjuna, chastiser of enemies, told Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight, and fell silent. Purport. Dhritarashtra must have been very glad to understand that Arjuna was not going to fight and was instead leaving the battlefield for the begging profession. But Sanjaya disappointed him again in relating that Arjuna was competent to kill his enemies, Parantapa. Although Arjuna was for the time being overwhelmed with false grief due to family affection, he surrendered unto Krishna as a disciple. This indicated that he would soon be free from the false lamentation resulting from family affection and would be enlightened, or Krishna consciousness, would be frustrated and would fight to the end. Tam ubacha rishikisha rata senayor upanyor bhajye vishidan tamidam vachaha. O descendant of Bharata, at that time Krishna, smiling in the midst of both the armies, spoke the following words. Purport. The talk was going as friends. Both of them were on the same level, but one of them voluntarily became a student of the other. Smiling because the friend had chosen to become a disciple. He is always in the superior position as the master of everyone. And yet the Lord agrees to be a friend, a son, or a lover for a devotee who wants him in such a role. But when he was accepted as the master, he at once assumed the role like the master, with gravity, as it is required. It appears that the talk between the master and the disciple was openly exchanged in the presence of both armies, so that all were benefited. So the talks of Bhagavad-gita are not for any particular person, society, or community, but they are for all, and friends or enemies are equally entitled to hear them. Shri Bhagavan Uvachan Anvashochastvam Priyabhadang Jabashase Gatasun Agatasun. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. Purport. The position of the teacher and chastised the student, calling him indirectly a fool. The Lord said, "You are talking like a learned man, but you do not know that one who is learned, one who knows what is the body and what is soul, does not lament for any stage of the body, neither in the living nor in the dead condition." As explained in later chapters, it will be clear that knowledge means to know matter and spirit, and the controller of both. Arjuna argued that religious principles should be given more importance than politics or sociology, but he did not know that knowledge of matter is more important than religious formularies. Because he was lacking in that knowledge, he should not have posed himself as a very learned man. As he did not happen to be a very learned man, he was consequently lamenting for something which was unworthy of lamentation. The body is born and is destined to be vanquished today or tomorrow. Therefore the body is not as important as the soul. One who knows this is actually learned, and for him there is no cause for lamentation, regardless of the condition of the material body. Text 12. Natvivaham jatunasam natvam nemi janadipaha nachaiva nabhavishama sarve vayam atak param. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. Purport. In the Vedas, in the Katha Upanishad, as well as is the maintainer of innumerable living entities in terms of their different situations, according to individual work and reaction of work. That Supreme Personality of Godhead is also, by his plenary portions, alive in the heart of every living entity. Only saintly persons who can see, within and without, the same Supreme Lord can actually attain to perfect and eternal peace. Nityo nityanam chaitanas chaitananam eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman tam atmastam ye Taresham. Kathopanishad 2.2.13. The same Vedic truth given to Arjuna is given to all persons in the world who pose themselves as very learned, but factually have but a poor fund of knowledge. The Lord says clearly that He Himself, Arjuna, and all the kings who were assembled on the battlefield are eternally individual beings, and that the Lord is eternally the maintainer of the individual living entities, both in their conditioned and in their liberated situations. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supreme individual person, and Arjuna, the Lord's eternal associate, and all the kings assembled there are individual eternal persons. It is not that they did not exist as individuals in the past, and it is not that they will not remain eternal persons. Their individuality existed in the past, and their individuality will continue in the future without interruption. Therefore, there is no cause for lamentation for anyone. The Mayavadi theory that after liberation, the individual soul, separated by the covering of Maya or illusion, will merge into the impersonal Brahman and lose its individual existence, is not supported herein by Lord Krsna, the Supreme Authority. Nor is the theory that we only think of individuality in the conditioned state supported herein. Krishna clearly says herein that in the future also the individuality of the Lord and others, as it is confirmed in the Upanishads, will continue eternally. This statement of Krishna's is authoritative because Krishna cannot be subject to illusion. If individuality were not a fact, then Krishna would not have stressed it so much, even for the future. The Mayavadi may argue that the individuality spoken of by Krishna is not spiritual, but material. Even accepting the argument that the individuality is material, then how can one distinguish Krishna's individuality? Krishna affirms His individuality in the past and confirms His individuality in the future also. He has confirmed His individuality in many ways, and impersonal Brahman has been declared to be subordinate to Him. Krishna has maintained spiritual individuality all along. If He is accepted as an ordinary conditioned soul in individual consciousness, then His Bhagavad-gita has no value as authoritative scripture. A common man with all the 4 defects of human frailty is unable to teach that which is worth hearing. The Gita is above such literature. No mundane book compares with the Bhagavad-gita. When one accepts Krishna as an ordinary man, the Gita loses all importance. The Mayavadi argues that the plurality mentioned in this verse is conventional and that it refers to the body. But previous to this verse, such a bodily conception is already condemned. After condemning the bodily conception of the living entities, how is it possible for Krishna to place a conventional proposition on the body again? Therefore, individuality is maintained on spiritual grounds and is thus confirmed by great acharyas like Sri Ramanuja and others. It is clearly mentioned in many places in the Gita that this spiritual individuality is understood by those who are devotees of the Lord. Those who are envious of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead have no bona fide access to the great literature. The non-devotee's approach to the teachings of the Gita is something like that of a bee licking on a bottle of honey. One cannot have a taste of honey unless one opens the bottle. Similarly, the mysticism of the Bhagavad-gita can be understood only by devotees, and no one else can taste it, as it is stated in the 4th chapter of this book. Nor can the Gita be touched by persons who envy the very existence of the Lord. Therefore, the Mayavadi explanation of the Gita is a most misleading presentation of the whole truth. Lord Chaitanya has forbidden us to read commentations made by the Mayavadis and warns that one who takes to such an understanding of the Mayavadi philosophy loses all power to understand the real mystery of the Gita. If individuality refers to the empirical universe, then there is no need of teaching by the Lord. The plurality of the individual soul and the Lord is an eternal fact, and it is confirmed by the Vedas, as above mentioned. So now Krishna is going to go deeper into this analysis of the difference between the body and the soul, between matter and spirit, and how they can be identified tomorrow. Hare Krishna. So, any reflections? I see some people. Oh. Savvy. Any reflections? Anything that stood out from what you just heard? Any comments? Further enlightenment? Complaints? Bhagavad-gita, clear as the bell.
I drew you a picture.
Oh, no, nice. Can we see it?
Yeah.
Wow, artist.
I was one thing. Oh.
She drew this picture while she was hearing. Pretty talented, if you ask me. Thank you, Hannah. Hare Krishna. Keep on drawing pictures for Krishna. Yes, sir.
I always think it's interesting how Arjuna, he's surrendered to Krishna, and then a verse or two later he says, but I'm not going to fight.
Yes.
But then he goes and he listens to Krishna.
Very good point. This is a very good point. This should encourage us. Because, this is the nature of the material world, and it's a nature of a conditioned soul. We're tiny. The material world is very great. And even when we get it right, we have a tendency to forget. We're always subject. Any one of us can be subject to the modes of material nature, the effects, the influence of the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one should be proud, even when we're in knowledge. Actually, if we are proud, we're not in knowledge. Symptoms of one who's actually in knowledge is that he's humble. He realizes himself in relationship to the absolute truth to be very small and insignificant. Therefore, he doesn't take any chances. One time, Prabhupada was standing in front of a deity, I don't remember which one it was, and he was offering prayer. And one of my godbrothers happened to be standing very close and heard one of the prayers. And it was, please don't let me fall again into Maya. So then the disciple said to Prabhupada afterwards, Srila Prabhupada, but you're a liberated soul. You can't fall into Maya. And he said, yes, I can't fall into Maya because I'm always praying to Krishna. Please don't let me fall into Maya. So that's the actual symptom of a devotee. He's not thinking, now I've conquered and nothing could touch me. What they say, pride cometh before the fall. Yeah. So this is a very important point you're making, because in our spiritual lives, it's not that by sentiment, now that we know who we are, we've understood, we've accepted it, and that's it. Or we've got initiation, got our spiritual name, got our tulsi mala, got our beads, that's it. No, initiation as beginners in Krishna consciousness. And therefore, there will be questions, Or there will just be conversation that will reinforce and strengthen what we already know, reconfirm what we already know. And that's the nature of spiritual development and spiritual life. So therefore we should feel encouraged that Arjuna, he's an eternal associate of Krishna, right? And he's just surrendered to Krishna as his spiritual master, and still he has doubts. But he puts those doubts before Krishna. He doesn't think, okay, now I got Krishna as my spiritual master, he's the supreme Lord of the universe, hey, it's a done deal, that's it, I'm safe. He keeps inquiring from the spiritual master until his doubts are removed. And then at the end, his doubts are removed. And he becomes empowered to overcome adversity like no one practically in the history of the world. Arjuna overcame, diversity and difficulties in that battle, which is one of the largest battles in the history of the world, that we can only dream about. We can't even imagine. There's a story in the Mahabharata that after the battle, when everything was said and done, and it was time to get off the chariot, Arjuna said to Krishna, please, my Lord, please, you first. And Krishna said, no, you get off first. And Arjuna said, no, Lord, please, you're my Lord, you must get off first. And then Krishna looked at him and said, get off the chariot. And then he put his one foot off the chariot, and as soon as his second foot went off the chariot went into dust. Because it had received so many celestial weapons that without Krishna being there to keep the whole show together, and then Arjuna said, oh, I see. That's who actually won the battle. So he got the credit, and Krishna wants to give the credit to his devotees. That's love. That's the exchange of love between God and his devotees. He's always looking for ways to serve the devotee, and the devotee is always looking for ways to serve the Lord. And this is love. And when it stops one way or the other, then continue to inquire. We have to continue to serve and continue to reconfirm, our position in this material world as the knower of everything.
It's nice that Arjuna, he took the position of a conditioned soul. But we also see at the end of the Bhagavad-gita that he executed the orders perfectly without question. He heard it once, and that was good enough.
That's right.
But I can speak for myself that I have to hear Bhagavad-gita.
But within that once,
yes,
there were doubts.
Yes.
Well, Krishna, what about this? You say that you instructed, this to, but we're cousins. I mean, give me a break. I accept that you, and then he very clearly explained, you were there also, because they're eternal associates. But you can't remember, but I can. So even if a person's liberated and an eternal associate of Krishna, even when he comes with Krishna for a mission, can't remember things in the same way that Krishna can. So even the spiritual master is not all-knowing like Krishna is all-knowing, because the spiritual master is a jiva. Prabhupada quoted that verse in one of the purports we just read, Nityo Nityanam, Chaitanas Chaitananam, Eko Buhunam, Yo Vididati Kama. Out of all the eternals, there's one eternal, Eko Buhunam, Yo Vididati Kama, who takes care of all the other eternals. That's the situation. So, to be fixed in that conception is to be fixed in spiritual life. We're in the material world due to our material conceptions. So the material conceptions have to be cleared, have to be corrected. Misconceptions have to be translated into proper conceptions. Then we'll know what to do and what not to do. Even when our spiritual master isn't physically present, or even when we don't have the Gita right at our... Of course, nowadays we have these gizmos and gadgets, that we always have the Gita with us, our devices, But Yeah. Hare Krishna. All right, I just went over my quota by 10 minutes already. I've got to, tomorrow morning, record Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it's really hard to do this. So I got to give my voice a rest.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you. In cyberspace, sorry for that little glitch at the beginning. We don't exactly know what happened. But anyway, for today's reading, there are 2 readings. Hare Krishna. Srila Bhagavad-gita ki jai. Shri Krishna ki jai. Arjuna ki jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Gaur Premanand